space insanity, ants in your spacesuit, and apartment hunting on the moon? Stay tuned, we're getting into it.
I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Welcome to the after show for all mankind, covering episodes 6 and 7, Home Again, and hi, Bob.
Hello, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob.
I heard that so many times. Hi, Bob. First, I thought they were going crazy, when in fact they are. So we are getting into it. We're talking politics running over human lives. Yes, guys, lives. NASA is afraid of homosexuals, and Danielle makes the ultimate physical sacrifice because her arm is broken. So we're going to get into that. We also have a special segment, Hero's Journey, and of course, our news and gossip, Men Be Raging.
Wow!
So amazing. There it is. It's my
So
favorite
close to
sound
what
clip.
I just did. I don't even think you needed the clip.
Was that you?
Might have been.
Actually, that's amazing. Love it that we have that. My name is Tatiana Marisa. I'm so excited to be here. Before we get into anything, we have a star on our panel.
So,
I am starstruck. Tara Erickson.
that's me, girl.
If you guys have not been stalking her like I have, she was on The Twisted Nanny.
Yeah, Lifetime movie called The Twisted Nanny. It dropped a few days ago on the old Lifetime movie network. Check it out if you got cable or Hulu Live TV. I don't know. Just look it up. Twisted Nanny. I am the lead in that, so you'll see a lot of me. So if you're looking at me now being like, I don't want any more of this, then probably don't watch it. But if you're like, I'm interested, go right ahead.
I am so proud of you.
Thank you, girl.
That
I
is
appreciate
so
that.
exciting. That is so exciting. So you guys, please check it out because we love to support our hosts, and this is a big thing. So, Twisted Nanny, go look at it. Real quick, before we dive into things, I want to give a shout out to the series set director, Diana Fraisse. I added a little accent there.
Yeah.
It's because I felt like it. But everybody has been commenting on the sets and how amazing they are and how very perfect they are. So I just wanted to call her out, and it's amazing. I also want to give a shout out to Hidden Palm, who was in our chat the last review that we did, who pointed out that Jerry Cobbs is portrayed by Molly Cobbs in this For All Mankind universe, which I had missed. So I appreciate you, Hidden Palm, for pointing that out. Geraldine M. Cobb in real life was an American aviator and part of the Mercury 13 group who, in her last 30 years of life, dedicated her life to missionary work in South America, performing humanitarian flying using her own self-drawn maps that guided her over uncharted territory. So please take a look at her life. She was very inspiring, and she just passed away in March of this last year. I didn't know. I missed that. So Hidden Palm caught that and let us know. So Hidden Palm, I really appreciate that. It's amazing. You educating us on an amazing woman.
We did talk about it, Hidden Palms.
We did? Did I miss
You're
right.
I gave her a shout out on my Twitter, you guys.
I'm not listening.
She's great. Tatiana, she just zones me out. I get it. Most people do. But I gave her a nice shout out on my Twitter. So you can look me up, Hidden Palms, at the Tara Erickson, and know that I was on your side the whole time.
There it is.
Boom, baby.
Sorry about that. Sorry. I should have given you credit.
No. I like that you're calling her out because I do believe that it's probably a huge honor for her to be represented in a way in this TV show to get what she probably really wanted to do was go to the moon, and she got to do that from a ethereal sense in a TV show, which I think is cool.
Sure. They honored her.
Yeah, they sure did.
It was good. So I really want to get into this whole politics over human lives. Now, we are covering 2 episodes in one, so I just have a couple things to talk about here. But in episode 6, Home Again, we find Von Braun has been called back because there is an explosion, and who else can fix it but Von Braun, which I think is really horrible of them, right? Because they completely tainted his name and disgraced his name, discarded him, and then they were like, oh no, there was an explosion on Apollo 23. We actually need you to come back and fix it. fix it. Fix it. So, that's stupid. But anyway, he comes back and we're confronted with Margot. Now, Margot's father was involved in the Manhattan Project, which is a real thing for those of you who are unaware. The Manhattan Project was a real thing in World War II in the 1940s. So it actually did happen. But beyond that, the contracts were switched. Now, do you think this is typical political behavior from even what's going on now? You think this happens on a regular basis?
110%. I mean, in order to get where you are politically, you have to make a lot of underground, deep, dark moves, I think, to, please the right and wrong kind of people. They're the right people because they can get you to the top. They're the wrong kind of people because they're not necessarily doing the right thing. And they kind of highlight that in this episode specifically through a very long conversation through Braun and Margot. Man, blanked on that name just now.
That's all right, I'm here for
She's
you.
like my favorite character too.
I'm here for
Rough living. Anyway, yeah.
So the one thing that I wanted to talk to you about is everybody knows that they do it. They don't necessarily know when politicians do it, but it eventually comes to light whether or not whether or not they say, why don't they just be upfront from the beginning and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to give this, instead of giving it to Illinois, I'm going to give it to, or no, they gave it to Illinois. Instead of giving it to somebody else, I'm going to give it to Illinois because I need more votes to get into office. And that's what I'm doing. And it sucks, but everybody does it. So what have you?
You'd get a backlash from, I think, of a lot of other states that are like, well, we might deserve this contract more because we've been working in this field for longer. We have people that have been waiting out for this contract for years, and you've suddenly pulled the rug out from under us just in order to get more votes because Illinois has not always been on your side, which is unfortunate because if you are a leader, you're for the people. And now you're for a contract.
But technically, it was also involved with the ERA, right? So in turn, it helped get the ERA passed. So it was kind of like a toss-up.
Which I think is a lot of politics. It's hard because you're never really going to do anything perfect in politics. There's always like an SHIT end of the stick, which is unfortunate, but I don't know. I don't know if I would have done it any differently. But I do know that I think at the top in being a leader that you should be more for the people. And if that meant getting the ERA approved, then maybe it was all for the greater good.
And that's kind of, to double back, that's kind of what Von Braun has been saying the entire time, right? To Margot, and the point that he's been trying to make to her, and in explaining her father to her and why her father wasn't there. Now that we know the history behind her father, I completely understand why her father was so removed from her life. It sucks that it had to come, after he passed as the reasons why, but I understand.
Yeah. It's like PTSD, and also you just feel a major amount of guilt for the rest of your life, and it's such a large amount of guilt, there's no way that you can face it. And if you did, you'd probably do a lot of damage to yourself or those around you. So it's better just to be shutting it down.
But it sucks because I bet you when her father first started, I bet you he wasn't like, oh yeah, we're going to make this to, blow up Nagasaki, and we're going to, ruin a bunch of lives. I'm sure it's exciting to come across something new, to make something new, whether it be destructive or not. It's exciting to make something that's never been made before.
Right. I think that's the whole issue too with new technology, like, Alexa and Siri, is that if you can turn those into, using your own information and using it against you, or turning it into a real live robot, then there could be a lot of harm done with the technology that's already been evolved, which is why I still think they're probably making very smart decisions in what Siri and Alexa can and cannot do or say. So I think that even that struggle exists today.
Funny you say that, because there's actually a case that just happened where a woman was killed and she was in an argument with her boyfriend. And the boyfriend said, no, she fell on a spear. I don't know why they had a spear in their house, but they had a spear. He said she fell on a spear. Well, they actually brought in Alexa, because they had one of those boxes or whatever. And they say that she doesn't listen to you all the time, but she has to be listening to you all the time because she has to be listening for her name, right? So they actually used her because she's been listening to the entire conversation, the argument they had. So they brought her in and used her in the case.
What? So wait.
This was recently.
Does that mean that they were able to pull a recording and replay the guy and the girl speaking in full on argument?
Yeah.
Heck yes.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, I didn't follow back up with I should now that I'm talking about it.
You should now.
But
Or leave it in the comments, please. Like,
Yeah.
because we check these. So if you guys have like the background on that specifically, I am very thoroughly interested. I have friends constantly. I have 2 Alexas in my studio apartment. That's right, 2. I love her. Listen to everything I say. Don't care. I would never spear someone. I mean, who knows the future, but I don't think so.
Hopefully
So
not.
I don't mind it. But for situations like that, people are now going to have to be really careful. If that is the truth and she was actually listening and pull that dialogue right from there, that is something that now, man, I'd love to write a short film about it.
Well, it blew up to be a big thing because now it's like, what's an invasion of privacy? You know, they say, oh, well, if they're listening, but they're not really they're not really going to use it for anything. Bull.
Well, now they are.
Now they are.
I mean,
using
if you
it.
buy it, you're signing off on the invasion of privacy.
Totally,
Just
totally.
know that she's listening, and if you don't want it, don't get one.
I don't have one.
Ooh, wow. I don't know how you survive. I rely on mine every day.
Speaking of Alexa, please tell Alexa to pull up AfterBuzz TV so you can watch all of the reviews that we have going on here.
Yes.
Tara, can you tell us?
Yes, we are the ESPN of TV Talk. We are that because we cover all different TV shows, even movies, podcasts. We do all the things, and it's all for you. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment. We're on iTunes. We're on YouTube. You can watch a video or just listen to us in your ears. We try to make it easy for all of you, no matter what you want, whether it's just a hearing luxury is no. Whether you just want to hear us, that's a better sentence, or watch us. Either way, we're here for you, and we're here for the fans, and we do super appreciate hearing from you guys. It means the world to us because we're here just like you. A big fan of TV, movies, podcasts, all the things media. AfterBuzz TV, ESPN of TV Talk.
Thanks, Tara.
That's it. There was a good sentence at the end. The middle ones were total crap. I apologize.
No, that was awesome. I loved it all. I was there. I'm here.
Ooh, she's there.
You are an, 100% working actor. So whatever you say.
And there was no script in front of me, you guys. I was working. It was improv.
What? Let's have an improv class right now. Just kidding. I won't put you guys through that. So I want to go into NASA and homosexuality because that was really prevalent on these last 2 episodes with Ellen and Henry, right? Henry is his name. So, and Pam, honestly, because Pam was affected too.
Pam is
Ellen and
in
Pam.
it.
She's in it. She's in it to win it. And so, it's crazy because they think that because, Ellen and Henry are homosexuals that they're going to ruin, they're spies all of a sudden, they're going to ruin the operation, it will give them it's their entire livelihood was called into question by a man who honestly I thought was gay.
Right?
Like the way he was talking, I was like,
Totally.
You're here and you're doing this is ridiculous.
Right.
So it sucks because you see, Ellen with Pam and they actually have like a very honest relationship. And then Ellen is calling into question her feelings about both sides. And Pam is like, I know what I am. I know what I am. I know who I love. I know what love is. This is what I know. And Ellen's like, I'm not sure anymore. But it's just because she's so afraid of what will happen to her in her job. And now they're forced, literally like forced into marriage. Otherwise, they will be called, like Henry was saying, perverts, and, you know, they'll lose their jobs, and people will say, you know, so much so that they're guarding their houses, they're tapping their phones. That is insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
I think that you tapping into that the guy sort of prosecuting them or going after them, I wouldn't be surprised if he was gay, in a sense that during this time you had to push that so far down and actually revolt against it. So I feel like he could be revolting, you know, in terms of going after people who are just like him. I mean, he's obviously would be in denial if he is. But I found it very sad that Ellen pulled away from someone who very clearly has a good head on her shoulders, and does love her very much. It wasn't just a fling of like, I don't know.
Right.
Ellen and Pam were in an actual relationship, and Henry went along with it. Meaning they all three knew what was going on. All three supported how to get by and undercover. But at the end of the day, it was too much of a risk then. And it's sad. I don't know. It's just sad that the risk of her losing her life or her livelihood, as well as Henry losing his livelihood in regards to just his sexuality, is weird, because it doesn't change the way that you work or you as an employee or your intelligence.
And it doesn't make you a spy. Like, they thought that it would ruin the you know, the process of what was going on there. It has nothing to do with anything. And I apologize. His name is not Henry. It's Larry.
Gosh.
Sorry.
Larry.
It's Larry. Larry. Yeah. So but it sucks though, because, you know, ultimately Pam chose love. She was like, whatever happens, I love you, and I know I want to be with you, and that's it. Which makes me question, you know, Ellen's love for Pam. I understand that, you know, everything that she's worked for is called into question, and she could lose that. But at the end of the day, you know, in retrospect, if she gets to where she wants, and her whole life is a lie, you know, is she going to get where she wants in this fake marriage? Maybe they'll have kids at some point because that's more socially acceptable. And then she's going to turn back around and, you know, wish for Pam instead of everything that she's accomplished.
I agree. She was given an ultimatum, and she chose one path. I think there's a lot of people, even still today, that when given an ultimatum may not choose what they really want, but what they think is best for them in regards to how the world and their friends and their family are going to view them. And it's weird because looking at Ellen, she's an astronaut. She's really smart. And you put all these like strong qualities towards her. But in regards to making this decision, I mean, I think Henry had a little bit to do with it. But if Ellen would have been like, no, we can't do this, I think Henry would have been, okay, that's fine, you know. No one was forcing anyone's hand.
No, but I think Larry was like in her ear constantly, you know, like, we got to do
Larry,
this.
God.
I'm sorry. I know. I set you on the wrong track.
Diana.
I'm sorry. Failure.
Larry, yeah.
Yeah, Larry. But I think he was constantly in her ear. You know, they're not going to let up. They're not going to let up. And it's because his butt was on the line, not hers. They don't think anything of Ellen at all. They think everything is surrounding Larry. And so it was kind of like, you know, Larry didn't force her, but he was constantly talking to her like, you know, you have to stick up for me. They're going to ask you these questions, obviously because it's happened to him before. But with him constantly like this, you know, because it's his butt on the line.
I agree. I feel like the guy, for some reason, that when he was interviewing Ellen, that there was an underlying current of, I have a feeling you're also gay and you are each other's cover up. Whether it's just her covering for Larry or her or doing what they're actually doing, which is they're both gay and covering for each other. I just had an instinct. I don't know if it was something he said. I wish I would have wrote it down. That gave me sort of an instance where I was like, maybe he knows that they're both playing each other's cover up, which is why I thought, I don't know. I guess they got to the decision together. It's like a 50-50, but
I mean, he
sad.
definitely had a lot of points. He was like,
Yeah.
you've been married or you've been dating for how long, you know, and you're not married yet. And back then people would date and get married in like a heartbeat, you know. And so, he even went so far as to ask him if they had slept together,
Yeah.
you know. It's just, I mean, but even if she was like, yeah, you know,
Right.
he still wouldn't have.
Still wouldn't have.
Still wouldn't have.
It's also sad because that's their favorite bar, and Pam is the lead bartender.
Yeah.
So where are y'all going to go drink now?
Well, they're going to keep going because nothing can be found out. But it also makes me wonder if Pam is just going to be like, F all of this. Like, this is who I am. Like, it's going to make her, you know, rise to the occasion to kind of stand up.
And maybe
for herself.
be open about it?
Totally.
Come out?
Yeah, I totally think that she'll come out.
I would love to see that because I think it would be a big F you in Ellen's face.
Yeah.
Because Pam has already said, if you make this decision, I'm out of here. And I hope that Pam sticks to that. And if she does end up coming out, that would be great. I love that storyline.
I think it'll be a rise and, you know, be an alternate story that's going to go on.
I would love that.
Yeah. Writers, are you listening? That's what we'd like to see. I also want to talk about okay.
Uh-oh.
Danielle
Yes, Danielle.
makes the ultimate physical sacrifice. She broke her own arm. She broke her own arm for Gordo. Okay? Like, I don't even think I would break my arm for my best friend. Sorry. But she knew, I mean, they've been through a lot together. I get it. And they've been cooped up in there for 83 days, plus 2 weeks, plus 2 weeks, plus 2 weeks, plus 2 weeks. So, you know, it's the majority of episode 6 was surrounding Gordo and going mad, which if you guys tuned in last time, I actually had a list of effects that would happen if you stayed in space too long. And pretty much Gordo did all of them. He did all of them. You know, he was going crazy. He was going crazy. So, you know, the hi Bob. He went crazy. So if he went home, obviously he had to go home because his mind was not right. They would have taken his flying license all around in space and, you know, on the ground. So she did it. She took it there.
Yeah, I felt like she related very harshly to, oh, so he won't be able to come back to space. And Ed was like, no, he won't ever be able to fly again. And I feel like she just, I don't know, maybe she has more empathy, well, obviously, than Ed. She was the only other one that is able to view it from a very empathetic viewpoint. Today, the brain is not picking up, and I apologize. She's the only one in this situation that has a lot of empathy, and I think can view it from the standpoint of if this had happened to her, she probably would not be able to go on living life as usual. And there is a very clear highlight and metaphor in her life, which is her fiance or her boyfriend. Are they married yet?
No.
Her husband.
I think they are married, Clay.
Who has PTSD, and I think that there are a lot of things and more that are taken from him that led him to be this way. That is difficult to deal with, and he is not the same person that he was before. And I think that her seeing that is like, I don't want this to happen to anyone else. I think when you have to live with that, I think all around she juggling the struggles of someone having, I don't know, the rug pulled out from under them and not feeling themselves. And I think she chose to make quite a big sacrifice to have that not happen to Gordo. So it definitely already happened to Clay.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't think breaking her arm was the reason why she did it, but she wanted to get home to Clay as well, you know, because of what was going on. And there was no way that she could counsel him through, you know, on a screen when he could just walk away whenever he felt like. And so I think you're absolutely right. The whole parallel between Gordo and Clay hit home on a very personal, intimate level with Danielle. So she did it. Can I just say, when the tape broke, the Bob tape broke, and they did the entire scene, word for word, the three of them, That was hilarious.
Oh, it was the best.
It was the best.
Yeah.
And to see Ed do that too, because he's normally so reserved and so, this is how it's done and I'm the commander and blah, blah. It was really nice to see him do that.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of parallels between Ed and his kid and Gordo and his kid. I think the biggest quote that stuck with me is that Ed said, "You tried to wear me down, but I didn't face it." And I think that happens with a lot of people in his life, that they try to wear him down because he has such a guard up and he doesn't face it really readily unless it's like on his own time in his own weird way. And that doesn't always work. And I think this is the one and only situation where he was forced to deal with it, not in his own way. He was forced to deal with it sooner and with a more delicate hand. Mm-hmm. And I think that he will probably learn a lot, I hope, in regards to dealing with Gordo in going back home and learning how to deal maybe with his kid a little bit better.
Yeah.
Because he is very harsh on his kid. And mom is too, man. She gets in there. But I think he'll learn a lot from dealing with Gordo, I hope, and becoming a little more sensitive and dealing with his kid and his wife.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it like kind of unlocked a new layer for Ed. Absolutely. Yeah. Good point. But I'm also pissed kind of at Gordo because all of that happened and Gordo pretty much knew what Danielle did because they're in they're going back home and he looks at her and says, thank you. Because he knows. But then he goes home and the last that we see of him is he's on his couch just drinking a bunch of beer. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm trying to be empathetic and think, okay, his mind was not right in space. Okay. I've never been in space. I don't know what that feels like. But, I'm sure he was out of his mind and he's coming home and he needs to decompress. Okay. And he needs to filter through things. I'm sure there's a lot of things he thought up there and he can't believe he acted this way. Or maybe he feels like a failure because he couldn't stay up there as long as they wanted him to, like Ed. Maybe, I'm sure a million things are running through his mind. But for her to make that sacrifice, not only physically, but in the workplace now, how people look at her as being, because now people are going to look at her and think, oh, she's the reason why he had to come home. So to make that entire sacrifice, to just sit at home and piss it all away with beer is terrible. And it makes me, I like Gordo. Like, even though he cheated on his wife and did all this stuff, I liked him. I think he was very relatable. But that ending scene where he was sitting there on the couch, I was so frustrated with him. Completely frustrated with him.
I think that's what the writers wanted. At first,
well, it worked.
I look at it as an easier scene to write. It's easy. Gordo lays on the couch. He's surrounded by junk food, and he's just looking into the abyss. But I think when we end on that, it gives us a better payoff. Hopefully, in the next episode or the one after that, where I do think Gordo would probably come forward, and all of a sudden, all these fires are rising, and Gordo's like, "It wasn't her. It was me." And they're like, "What?"
It's going to give
and then
Gordo
he's like,
his like,
"It was me. I'm the reason we couldn't go back. I went insane." And then he's going to go insane. She's going to be like, "You don't have to, Gordo." And then he's going to be like, "No, I do." I have a feeling that's going to be a scene that's coming up, which is why that's there.
They're giving Gordo his hero moment.
Yes.
Hopefully. Because Ed has had one. I hope so. Danielle has had one. Tracy's had one. Karen's had one. Gordo has been the one that's kind of like left behind. So you could be absolutely right.
I hope so.
Let us know what you think.
Yeah.
Do you hate Gordo now, or do you just dislike him a little bit, or do you think I'm being too harsh and should give him a break? I don't know. I don't know, but we'll see. On to our special segment, Hero's Journey. Oh, I love that. I just want to talk about sometimes encouragement comes in the form of a push. In this case, we saw that between Von Braun's character and Margot. Because he basically pushed her with love on exactly why she wasn't chosen for flight director. He was like, "You're not a team player. you don't want to work with people. You think if you just do this and this and this, then you'll be number one. But that wasn't the case. And he told her she was capable, far more capable than what she thought. She needed to put in more effort in being personable and a team player and using things to her advantage, and that she wasn't reaching her potential. So although the things he was saying might sound kind of harsh, it was a loving push by somebody who knew her very well. So in these 2 episodes, Von Braun was our hero in pushing Margot to be her best.
Because she is the best.
Because she is the best.
She needed that push.
Yeah. Margot.
Love it.
That's all for our hero's journey. On to the very contrasting Men Be Raging.
Ah! Cool. Hope you like that.
There it is.
It's just so uncanny, right? Now, number 1, there's a user review. They gave it 1 star, and they said, "Can you stop this pseudo-feminist propaganda, Hollywood? Seriously, it's time to stop the hypocrisy seen in many shows. Not worth our time." Then there's a couple people who clapped back, and I really liked what they had to say. This one gave it 8 stars. Watch it and leave your politics in another room, which I would agree. It's TV. I watched 7 episodes yet, and they are great. Watching a show because of diversity and representation is just as bad as not watching it because of diversity and representation, which is the truth. Judge the product by its quality instead of your politics. I agree. It's television, guys. I don't know why you're getting so deep about it. Now, this last one gave it 8 stars. Some of you need to get a grip. I thoroughly agree. This is a what-if story that imagines a space race between the U.S. and Russia continues beyond 1969. In this alternate history, Russia lands on the moon first, forcing the U.S. to continue up the ante on the stakes and the advancement that never occurred in reality. It is a written show. A lot of reviewers seem to be getting worked up because the shock horror, women, yes, women, have been introduced into this scenario, becoming astronauts in the early 70s rather than, in reality, the early 80s. So, if the notion that women becoming astronauts a mere decade earlier in this work of science fiction somehow threatens your masculinity, then this show isn't for you. We're only a few episodes in, and God knows what they'll come out with next. Maybe a black or gay person will be next. And that is the truth. There are gay people, there are people of color, and there are women going to space. Oh my God! Who would have thought? It's true. Leave your politics at the door. This is entertainment, people. Just judge it by the quality. And I don't know, look at politics on Twitter and complain about it there. But in a real political forum. Maybe not on a TV show on IMDb. That's all for now. Thanks for listening to Men Be Raging! Back to you, Tatiana.
That's awesome. Thank you. It is true. It's a what if. It's a what if scenario. It's great to watch. It's fun.
Yeah.
I like the representation, especially for Aleda, who Margot takes under her wing.
I love that.
That's a true coming up story. Okay. Come on. I mean,
Come on. 100%.
What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Okay, predictions. What do you think? What do you think?
Well, I think what I said about Gordo coming up in an episode or 2 and being like, it wasn't Danielle, it was me. That's why we had to come back going crazy. I think that'll happen. I saw a struggle between Karen and Tracy. So when they had a whole meeting with their kids, it was that Karen's kid was more in control and Tracy's kid was the follower. And I think that Tracy is a follower like her son, but she doesn't know it. And Karen is like, there's no way my kid can be the leader of this. But Karen is the leader. She's the leader of her kid and Tracy's kid and Tracy and Ed. So I foresee that parallel getting a little bit stronger, highlighting it a little bit more in regards to Karen being a leader and Tracy being a follower. I think when Ed gets back from space and being there so long, because he's going to have been there alone for 2 weeks.
Or 4 or 8.
Or 8,
or
who
10.
knows? That I think his PTSD in regards to like, he'll probably have a little bit, it may soften him up instead of doing maybe what it did to Clay or Gordo. I think we'll see the opposite effect on Ed, which I think will be a welcome surprise. And I think Danielle will probably fight through. It's hard for her in the workplace, but I foresee her. She just is like one who's like, take a deep breath and carry on. And I think that's going to get her very far. So I hope to see her move up quite quickly within the next few episodes. I hope. That's all I got.
You really think Tracy is a follower? You don't think she's a leader?
I really do think that deep down, Tracy is, she has a little bit of it in her, but I would more call it passion instead of leadership. Yeah, I just see her as more of, she has those moments like when she saved, was it Ellen from, she helped her on that hike. Yes. And she helped bring her back rather than leaving her behind. Mm-hmm. I think it's more compassion and passion that I see from Tracy rather than true full-on leadership. I don't know that she's fully capable of doing that yet. Not yet, but maybe soon. I think she's still struggling a lot with a lot of emotions, and she lets that get to her more so than I think Danielle. Yeah. I think Tracy lets it eat her up. Danielle can kind of separate and compartmentalize a little bit better.
I mean, at this point in time, Danielle has experienced things on a completely different level and a completely different capacity. So maybe her, I don't want to say tolerance, but maybe her, the way she handles stuff like this is a lot more thick-skinned.
Because she's had more exposure to it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
So, that could be, I thought it was really funny watching the two moms, watching Tracy and Karen walk down the hallway after they had that meeting with the principal. And you see, it's funny because you see Karen, who is like, what the times were. Mm-hmm. And then you see Tracy or what the times are becoming. Karen is in a nice dress. She's got heels on. Her hair is done. She's got a little purse and a little jacket. And then you see Tracy, who's in a business suit, flats, with a bag, and her hair is pulled back in a ponytail. It's a great contrast of where I think women's roles in that time. So I really loved that scene. That was like one of my favorite scenes that I saw.
I just love how you said bag. And a bag.
I like bag.
She had a bag.
She had a bag. A bag. Anyway, I predictions. I don't know. I think that Danielle will come into the picture way more, and she's going to face a lot of scrutiny, and I think that she's really going to struggle with Clay. I don't think Clay is going to recover from where he's at. He really has a problem with Danielle having a higher position than he does, and I think it's really messing with his masculinity. And then, to pile on top of that, the PTSD and trying to get a job and his brain just not working with him. So I really think that that relationship is going to kind of fall apart, and it's going to cause our problems. And I also think that, Shane has been in an accident. And so I do think that, Ed is going to feel remorse because the last time he talked to Shane before he was in the accident, he scolded him and said, "You're very disappointed in you," and said all the fatherly things. So, I really think that I'm with you on that. He's going to show a lot more compassion, and I think he's going to work through a lot of emotions because, he's not very emotional. He's like Batman in a way. He's just really, non-emotional. But I think that'd be really good for Karen and their relationship because they have a ton to talk about that they talk to other people about and not each other. You know who I really missed was Molly's husband.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see him back. I hope he comes back.
Where was he?
And I really missed his presence in this episode. in these past 2 episodes. So I really want to see him again, and I want him to enter back into Karen's life, because now she has that painting hung up where everybody can see.
I feel like Shane getting in an accident is the perfect time to bring him back in, because Ed cannot be there for her, and I feel like he's going to be the one to show up.
There you go.
It's going to get a little dicey. They might get a little too high one night, and I don't think anything will happen. Nothing.
Yeah.
But I think maybe more information will be divulged.
Yeah. Good. Good times, good predictions. Gosh, I love this show, you guys. This is amazing. Before we leave and move on to our next endeavor of this evening, where can we find you, Tara?
Oh, guys, I am Tara Erickson. Go ahead and find me on youtube.com/Tara Erickson, TaraErickson. Check me out on IMDb. Twitter, the Tara Erickson, and Instagram, Tara Erickson. Just look it up. Cool.
And of course, on the Twisted Nanny, I'm just going to say it one more time because I'm so proud. It's amazing. And I am Tatiana Marisa, at Tatiana Marisa, on all social media platforms, so you can find me anywhere. All right. That was a great show. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. And leave a comment. Let us know what you think. We'll respond back, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.